these put together to show folks what we're shooting for. How's that? And if you wanted to,
That just blows me away.
this is one of the reason I demonstrated the 60 degrees or the 6-point star is because it is the most versatile of all of them. Because if I did this with a 45-degree angle here instead of 60, you would have 8, but you wouldn't be able to do this. This would be a square.
Oh yeah.
So you can continue out in this direction, or you can go out this direction. You get rid of this and make these 3 different colors. That's the tumbling block. And you can make the hexagon and surround it with hexagons, and then build up plates, platters, just anything, anything you want to turn, Lazy Susans, coasters, lids to boxes, and just whatever you want. And this pattern is really versatile as far as what you can do with it.
Right.
And so I guess the only thing that's critical is that these 2 sides need to be parallel, and these 2 sides need to be parallel. And the closer they are, the more generations you can employ as you come around. Okay? This distance also has to be the same as this distance. Okay? And this angle has to be very accurately cut at 60 degrees. And that'll force these, of course, to be 120. Okay? And if we get all of those right, the parallel, same distance here and here, and then these 2 angles 60, these 2 are forced to be 120 by geometry. If we do that, then we can build these structures in a whole number of different ways, and we can get a good fit. We can also carry that on to another generation that comes all the way around, and just keep going, and then whenever you're ready, you can terminate it this way and be able to turn something around, or this will form a hexagon. And so you could build up, this hexagon could be built up of a whole bunch of smaller pieces, and then those can be used to form another pattern. There's a lot of things you can do with this. Critical thing is getting these dimensions right. And let me quickly show you how I do that. Set up my table saw, but here's the stick that I start with, and I'll cut this to a particular width and make sure, and my last cut is just a little shaving cut, and that gives me both sides that are straight and parallel. And then the next thing I'm going to do is set this at 60 degrees, and if I don't move the fence, I'm guaranteed that this distance will equal this distance, and that's the first thing that I want. I'm also going to make this surface parallel to this one, just like I did this surface parallel to that one. And then I can run these through cookies. So the table saw will naturally give me the parallel sides that are equal distance if I don't move the fence between cuts. I'll cut it this way one time. And now the next thing I have to do is I've got to figure out an easy way to hold this at 60 degrees really accurately. And here's the basic idea. If I use a drafting triangle, hold that up against the fence with the 60 degree coming out. If I could build an arm held at 60 degrees, use that as a fence, then I can just push that through and cut these off. And that'll give me everything I need. I'll have the angles that I need, I'll have the equidistances that I need, and I'll have the parallel surfaces that I need. So that's the game plan, is build a jig that will do this. So I have a piece of 1/2 inch MDF, and I've previously cut this so that these two sides are parallel and these two sides are parallel. And I do that not because it's necessary. I need this side straight because that's going to bear against the table saw fence. Okay. I like this side parallel to my guide surface over here. That way if I drop this or damage it in any way, I can flip it around, take just a little layer off of here and true it up again. Okay. Now the idea is to hold this fence, get this arm 60 degrees here. So let's see. Let me got that blade out of the way, and now I want to cut this arm off at that angle, and it doesn't have to be very accurate, so I'm going to just cut this by hand. Probably not the best way to do that, but I don't need that. I don't need that very accurate cut. I just want to get that angle right. So now I'm going to hold the base up against the fence, hold the drafting triangle against the fence, and I'm going to hold this arm up against the triangle. And let's just put a mark so I know where to put the super glue. I don't want the fence, I don't want the arm of the jig touching here. I want to make sure I don't get super glue or any kind of glue build up on the backside that'll hold me off the fence. Super glue. Spray the arm with accelerator. Now, I want to be careful that I don't super glue my triangle. So I hold the arm up against get it close to the fence. Hold the arm against the triangle. Make sure everything's pressed in tight against the table saw fence. Get that out of the way. Okay, there we have it. Now, I'm going to run this edge against this fence, so it's going to take a little damage, take a little wear. So I'll use some thin, fast drying super glue. I'll just toughen up this edge. And let's do the same thing over here. Just a little super glue there, get it underneath and strengthen this a little bit. While that's setting up, let me show you one I've already made. Get rid of this for now. So the idea is I'm going to hold a piece of wood up against here and trim that edge. Then I'll slide it forward and run it through. There's just not going to be room for me to safely put any body part in there. And I don't want that loose piece flopping around in there. So I need to build something. And it turns out I had a spring clamp break on me the other day, and I just decided to make a glorified clothespin, and that way work up close to the fence without I can work close to the fence and never have a finger in there. And there we are. So that'll be the next thing. I need to run make one of these real quick. I understand this isn't the best way to do this, but that works out pretty good for me. Okay. Well, now I need to build that glorified clothespin. So this is the spring out of a broken spring clamp. And just drilled a hole. Just press that in there. There's that part of it. The arm is just a piece of scrap. And I glued a extension on it. The basic idea is pretty straightforward. Position this. Okay, that's probably about where I want it. That'll do it. I'm kind of generous with the super glue, but I want to make sure I don't get glue hanging off this edge because that'll affect my alignment.
I made one yesterday and put a thing for the track on it and glued it to my table. I had to take a hammer.
Okay, I got that a little further forward. Tom accommodate by pushing this a little further back. Now I want to verify that I'm not. Okay, I'm good. Okay. I think that's going to work just about like that. Okay, so that has the jig ready. Now, let me show you the material. I have walnut, maple, renge, and purple heart. And yesterday I ran all of this through the table saw so that each one of them is the same width. And before I get started, I need to run these through the saw again because the fence has been moved. So I need to run each one of these through, get them the same width, then I can use my jig without moving the saw, or without moving the fence. Then I can cut all these the way I described it earlier. So the first thing I need to do is run each one of these through there. That has everything appropriately sized. So the game plan is going to be come in, make my kerf. Let's start with these little guys. And then we just start cutting these off. Cut them up like cookies until that gets too close for me to hold safely, and then we'll get another stick and do it. I'm going to cut a kerf first. Typically I want just about 1/4 inch of the blade sticking up. I have a little burr and a little bigger burr here. And those are enough. I slide these in there. There's a gap on my fence so that this burr won't hold me off, but I don't like that burr being there anyway. I just want to get rid of that. Okay. Come to think of it, I just cut a bevel on here. Now I can forget to sand this bottom one, to sand that bottom burr off. If I don't, I'm going to sand it off anyway. But if I forget, that little bevel down there will hopefully save me from having a big problem. So the game plan is don't move the fence. I've got this at 60 degrees, and now I just run my workpiece through and cut them off and make sure I get rid of those burrs as we go. Okay, that's 6, that's enough to test. First thing I ought to point, 2 things I need to point out. I used 1/2 inch MDF and these are about 3/4 inch tall. And I'm tearing out the back. If I'd have raised this fence, this arm, so that it was higher, it would have backed that up and I'd have gotten a cleaner cut. The other thing is that the blade is coming through on the back side, and as my workpiece gets shorter and shorter and shorter, my fingers get closer and closer to this. One thing you can do is use a clamp, and that way you cut the clamp and not your finger. Another option is to just put a board down through here so that the blade, it's kind of deceptive because the blade looks like, my mind tells me the blade is going to disappear and it does not come past the end of this arm. And that's not true. So if I put a board here and just cut this off so that the blade is buried within here, then my finger can't get back here. This, I see this part of the blade, I see it coming, I understand it. This catches me by surprise on occasion, and that's one dangerous thing about this jig. So you could just glue a piece of wood in here and let that blade be captured inside the wood.
Cool.
Okay, so let's clear the decks of this real quick and see how we did. I should probably sand all the fuzz off of there, but let's just see how close we get. So I get 3 of them and make sure they're in a line. And now I'm going to just do the best I can to hold these in place. I never can do this very well. Okay, time for the rubber band. There you have it. And again, the trick is make the jig properly. And once I have the jig made, and I use it properly, then I'm off and running. So I don't move the fence. I make sure I'm at 60 degrees. Put that on my jig. And now I can cut as many of these as I want. Okay. This will give us enough colors to play with. I guess the first thing we can look at is kind of the tumbling block idea. I just polished this table. That we can have that figure extend in whatever size you want. And then if you get ready to cap it with a different color, do something like this. Or just continue. And if you do this accurately enough, you can continue this before the errors start eating you up. And it's surprisingly how well the jig works. And then if I decide that I haven't moved the fence, if I decide that I want more maple, then I can just run a piece of maple through here. Even if I don't, this piece has been prepared, but even if I don't have a piece that has been prepared, I can run maple through here, cut it to size, then put it on my jig and it'll match these. So if I change my mind or change my design as I go through here and look at different patterns, I can add more wood.
That's cool.
So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this kind of idea.
Absolutely.
And as far as wood turning is concerned, I can build a central image, and I wish I could hold these a little better than I can by hand. I can build a central image, and now I need to form a border around here, and there's a whole lot of different ways to go about doing that. I can cap each one of these in various manners. So I think of this as the center of my image. This will be the radius that I can turn a circle. So I may need to build these out. And I can also use a bigger diamond. This large maple diamond can be built on the same jig by just moving the fence over. And that will build a large six-sided figure that you can turn a circle and have a constant color border around it if that's what you want. Lots and lots of possibilities with this. And I haven't explored a bunch of them, but I'm going to. So, one thing that I have learned is that I'm always underestimating. As these grow, I underestimate how much wood I need. So I've learned it's probably best if I start by, if there's an image I'll have in my mind, make it on the computer or draw it out on paper, and then count up how much purple heart, how much rangi, how much walnut, how much maple, whatever. And another thing that's kind of interesting that you can do is just make starburst type patterns where you start with a central figure, central color, and then around that you add another color and just come all the way around. Yeah, and you can use bright, really bright colors like purple heart, yellow heart, things of that nature. Then you can add another on top of it to go all the way around. So from this central point, you can have this radiate out. There are easier ways to do this if you're going to make a large one. Is if you look at this row, let me get rid of this part. I could just glue up sticks, laminate sticks, cut them, then recut them. And this is the what's it called, multi-generational lamination technique. If you have areas where you have lots of lines like that and large surfaces, it's probably better to go that way. But if you're just out playing and if you want to turn something, a coaster that's 4 inches out to a platter that's 12 inches, I would do this because it's so simple.
Yeah.
And here I started with a central 6-pointed star, and from that you can get a starburst pattern. But there's no reason that says you can't do all kinds of other things and form other patterns. Okay. As a wood turner, think of a central image and then something that radiates outward. And I can also make this tumbling blocks. This ought to teach me to wax this surface up before I start working with these things. But I think you see the idea that you can get all kinds of patterns around here that
It's just up to your imagination.
you can drive yourself nuts just playing with it. And you could do this on a computer or even do it on paper and just come up with all kinds of really unique patterns. And if you throw in all the different kinds of woods that are out there, you can play with the grain pattern direction, you can play with the color, you can play with a starburst, or you can introduce a spiral-like effect or a radial-like effect. So there's all kinds of ways to entertain yourself.